is around $1,000. So we'll look at this and do something in the next few weeks.
Okay.
We don't.
Sometime October, I believe.
Talk on the microphone.
Yeah, the question was, when do we close the requests? And a second letter will go out reminding people in September. We've had 18 people indicate that this check that they've given us so far is their first check. And so we'll send a reminder on that. And there's some people who just wait until the end anyway. So so expect another reminder in the fall.
When is the end?
So the end is typically towards the end of October. I don't know that we've set a specific date yet, but that'll come out and it'll be written in the memo that comes out in September. Okay, the next item on the list is the Residents' Council table. And the last one, which was held, it's always held, we put a table outside the bistro at lunchtime on the last Thursday of the month. And Lynn and I were the ones that were at the table last time. So, Lynn, you want to say a little bit about what was discussed?
Oh, sure. First, I'm going to comment on employee appreciation, though. It really never closes. If you forget to donate and checks are being handed to employees and you realize, oh my gosh, I haven't given this year, we can still put your check in the bank for next year. So don't think it's over. Okay, so the table it's actually fun to be there and hear people's comments. I started counting the people who said everything is wonderful and terrific, and so when I started, I collected 5 of those comments, and most people were quite positive. But there are a couple of interesting questions. One is, someone who walks the halls noticed that the plastic flippers on the doors in the north building, those of you in the north building know what I'm talking about. There's a flipper that rests against, let me think, it rests against the sill. No, it rests wherever it rests. When you open the door, the flipper goes down. Someone pops that flipper up in the evening so that in the morning, when security goes through and checks the flippers, if you haven't opened your door, they check on you to make sure you're okay. That's all supposedly been replaced by an electronic system. I know it's in my apartment, and I'm in the south building. It's a different system from the one we had before. And it's in the north building too, right? North building residents, nod your heads, yes. So why is someone still flipping up the little plastic flippers and checking whether they've gone down or not? Or maybe they don't check the down, but somebody didn't get the memo about you don't have to flip them up anymore.
So to interrupt, I talked to Raphael about this, and he said that there's still some glitches in the software, and they have to get it fixed.
Of course, perfect answer. Yeah. There was a comment that the chairs in center stage either need to be higher or the tables lower. The tables accommodate wheelchairs going under them. So someone coming in a wheelchair can glide under the table, which means that the tables are a little bit higher than normal, and that's why we have cushions all over the place. And there seemed to be an abundance of cushions, so that, well, they get stolen back and forth. There's a question about air conditioning flooding, and Ellen is going to deal with that one. Question about noise in the bistro, is it better, is it not? That's going to be studied. And what else? would like to have more things in the pastry showcase, I guess is the best thing to call it, to last through lunch and maybe even dinner for people who like croissants instead of toast or whatever. And a big cheer for the lights in the back of the building. They're working just fine. They're solar powered, and they get enough light to give us light at night, so you can walk behind the north building. When the south building was built, there is electric lighting, but the north building had none, and problem solved with solar lights. And, the bistro bathrooms. The doors were taken off. I thought that was a perfect solution, but a lot of people didn't like that. So they put the doors back on. I can tell you, I have to throw my whole self against the door at the ladies' room to get it to open. I don't know what's happened there. The door needs to be rehung or planed or something.
Yeah, they fixed the door to the men's room is easier than it used to be. But I don't know about the women's room.
Maybe we don't want to admit we're not as strong as you are. I'm not sure. But it is not easy to open. You can't just give it a little push and have it open, and it should. And Irwin would like to have black curtains covering the windows in the commons, so that movies in the spring and summer are more visible. They're easier to see. So that's the end of my list, I think. Yep.
Lynn, I might say on those curtains at the back of the sixth floor commons, we pulled the shades down, and that may take care of it.
Yeah, I was afraid to mess with the shades. I saw the shades there. Between the shades and closing the sliding doors, in any event, that's the end of my list. I don't have solutions, just comments. And next is Chris and Bistro Ball.
Yeah, so I wanted to report that we're making progress looking at this. There's a committee that was formed from members of House and Grounds and also some additional people on it. Irwin is a member of that committee, also Lucian Kaufman, and also two staff members, Brandon and Mo. So what we've done so far is we looked at, there are stipulations about what we can put on the walls of the bistro. You can't put pictures there that are in a frame with glass, because if you think about it, the glass is going to bounce the sound back into the room. So we've been looking at different kinds of things that you could put on the wall. And initially, we researched a whole lot of like canvas tapestry, where they put a picture on canvas and then it would be hung from the ceiling on a rod, the same way sort of that we do the art out here on Main Street. So we had selected a whole lot of different pictures that were having to do basically with food and also places that we would eat food, for example. And then we have also put together and are looking at items that are made from wood, because that would be also something that would absorb sound. So what our plan to do is, when the consultant for dining is picked at the end of this summer, one of the things that the first consulting group that we talked to was they had someone that does interior decoration. So our plan is to take what we think we would like to this group, to the consultant basically, for advice, and perhaps they'll change the whole thing, who knows? But anyway, it was a good exercise to kind of think about what you would want to decorate the walls and make them a little more interesting in the bistro. So I would say it's in progress, but if you're interested in making comments, come to the House and Grounds meeting tomorrow, because they're going to show some of the canvas pictures that we have thought about so far, and you could express your opinion. So you're invited to be there. It's at 10:45 up in the conference room. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Joe, can you give an update on the task force for solar energy?
Sure. I think at least I think I can. As you know, we have been a residents committee working on the idea of having Whitney Center go solar. We now we're forming a larger committee that is not only residents but also management. And we are going to be having a meeting, I believe it's on January 27th? Excuse me, January, good work, Joe. July 27th, with a speaker coming in who has expertise in this area. And I believe we will continue to make progress. I know that several years ago, Whitney Center had a quote from a solar company. However, at that time, we had a kind of exclusive rate for the electricity that we were getting. That rate has disappeared. When we had that rate, they felt that it would take 20 years to get back the money that they would have to put out for solar. The rate, the advantageous rate that we had has disappeared, and we are anxious to see what will happen as far as the payback period now for the installation of solar, the number of years that it will take to get back our cost of installation. Personally, I also want to see us approach the state government. I think, as you know, in Connecticut, the state has provided the solar panels for individual homes. And my argument is that we have 300 residents here. And I believe that, I don't know if we have any chance, but I want to see us approach the state government and see if they would do anything to help us install it. Thank you.
Okay. So, where are we here on the third item? Oh, this is the dining service consulting issue. So we have a small group that Mike has put together that has been interviewing different people who have responded to the RFP for dining services. We've already interviewed 2. The first group, Strategic Dining Services, was interviewed on June 13th. And the second group was CCRC Hospitality, and the interview was on June 24th. There is a third one coming up now on July 22nd. I can tell you that we learned a lot from interviewing these folks, and we actually gave feedback in writing to Mike, and I don't know if it was a result of that or not, but he has eliminated one group that we didn't find as professional and as competent as another group. So that was the second group that was eliminated, and that was CCRC Hospitality. So the group that is still in is Strategic Dining Services. They answered a lot of our questions about their experience and the things that they would concentrate on. And we really got some good information and feel that we'll end up with a very competent consultation service that will be ongoing for quite a while. So July 22nd then would be the 3rd. And so probably by the next meeting, I expect that we would have someone chosen for that. Any questions around that? Okay.
So I should note that the groups, the consulting candidate groups, of course, talked to the administration, and they talked extensively to the dining staff and the leaders of the dining staff. But we really appreciate the fact that the administration has brought us residents into the process as well. Chris, you want to say anything about?
Sure. So something occurred at one of our meetings, and we were discussing what is going to happen to the north parking lot. And the concern was that at this point, it's very difficult to see the lines where you would be parking, so that some people were having difficulty finding their parking spot. And we know that this is a big project that's going to be handled, and I understand that it was in Mark Brown's area. So what happened at the last meeting was that a determination was made that we should ask the administration what their timeline is about when they plan to start whatever renovation and changes they are going to do in the north parking lot, and so that at least we know something is going to go forward. And so what we're hoping is that at the town meeting this Thursday, that will be one of the issues that they'll give us at least an indication of a timeline on. So that was where it was left after the last discussion. Thanks.
All right, Steve, do you want to say something about the Cafe on Main?
An update on Cafe on Main. The present team for the cafe includes, besides myself, Linda Burt and Evelyn Krevelin. And I want to thank Judy Kidd and Karen Comezzo for having done the last couple months of keeping the cafe straight and organized. And I want to thank two other people. Maria Freda has been a real inspiration for us, and Mary Lou Pellegrino provides the goodies that you see when you go down there. The team is looking at the possibility of a game night later in the fall, and we'll tell you more about that as we investigate further what we need to do and what can be done, and especially how much interest you have in doing something like that. So some of the games we'll play, you've played before. We will not play Pin the Tail on the Donkey or Spin the Bottle. No, we're not going to do those, so don't ask for them. But we will have a variety, as much variety as we possibly can. The small whiteboard in 102, we are inviting you to put down the name of a game that you would like to play on a game night with your fellow residents. So if you do that, it will give us some idea of what you're interested in. We already have some games. I've done some research on that. We'll see what we can acquire if we don't have it. And I suppose that if some of you are interested in something like Mahjong, we don't have one as far as I know. The person who is interested in that can can offer their set perhaps for use. We'll see. We'll pursue that. So a game night is planned, and hopefully there will be lots of us interested in doing that, so that we have a chance to explore the whole cafe. You know, it's 3 rooms down here by the south desk. And if you haven't visited it yet, please do. And let us know what your favorite game is that you would like to play on game night. I think that's it. Thanks.
Deanie?
Time for questions?
Yeah.
I just wondered, I don't know what is being planned for the north parking lot, but it might be an opportunity to experiment or try the sun capturing energy sort of stuff on, you know, if they're gonna roof it and all or something.
You're talking about for solar energy?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. The solar task force, of course, is considering different ways to set up the solar. But certainly that's one option, is to put an open roof. And I'm sure that'll be considered. With respect to the game night, which I think is a good idea, I'm certainly going to go. But of course, Cafe on Main is open for people to play games on their own, get people together and whatever. So please make use of it if you want.
Can anyone in management actually tell us what they are planning for the north parking lot?
They're going to do it at the town meeting.
So,
Purple, bright out purple.
oh, it's okay. So without getting into too much detail, we're looking at a complete redo of the north parking lot to address the drainage issues, to address the painting, and perhaps, I think, even get rid of the different services. We've got the old concrete slab from the previous garages that were there a long time ago. And so we want to clean all of that up, but it has to be coordinated with the town because it's a significant project, more than you might think. It even involves cutting into the knoll that's buffering the parking lot from Leader Hill. So there's significant engineering that needs to be done along with the aesthetics of the parking lot. So as far as considering solar for that, I think it's worth considering. I think carports are a great option to house solar panels if we can get enough of them on the property. But I don't think, to be honest, we're going to be able to consider it in conjunction with the north parking lot project if we want to get that done soon, right? I don't have a timeline yet. I will have one at the town meeting.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you.
When you're talking about changes to the north parking lot, are you referring to the parking lot in front of the north building or the parking lot behind the north building?
The one behind it. Okay, so that's the list of agenda items that were discussed a month ago. We have a few new ones, and you're welcome to add some more. The first one is that, you know, we have a beautiful pond out front, only it's not quite as beautiful now as it should be. It's overgrown, and so we would like to see that taken care of, weeding and sprucing it up, et cetera.
Just to add on to what John says, the request was partly made by the garden committee, and I'm sorry, the request was partly made by the garden committee. It was forwarded to us, and it was the consideration was, can we get a professional gardener, somebody on the administration's payroll, to do some of this work, not people who think they know what they're doing when they walk out and pick a weed, because it was observed that some of the flowers are not weeds and some of the weeds are not flowers, and some of us don't know the difference. So it will be, hopefully, if we ask the administration, we'd do the caveat that we want someone who really knows what they're doing to do it.
Can I interject that actually there is a professional business that takes care of the pond? That it's my understanding that if we think something is wrong with the pond, they can be called on. So work order to management to the company that takes care of the pond in particular. I'd love to have a staff gardener on the entire property telling people what to do, frankly, but
even
that's
though there's
dream
a
time.
professional a business that takes care of it, they're not doing it properly because they've
Well-
taken out perennials, they've taken out things that were beautiful, and weeds have replaced it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There are people who work on the gardens, but they don't necessarily know what they're doing. They need a supervisor. Oh, there are plenty of workers working on the property, but they need supervision. Yeah. Julie?
Is it the same outfit that has been doing it? Because it seems that it's been, is it the same company that's doing it? Because it seems that last couple of years, it's been in very good shape, and all of a sudden this year it looks terrible with all sorts of weeds. And so is it the same organization, you think?
Yes, it's the same. It's pitch pine.
Oh,
And
wow.
the difference is probably the weather. I mean, we're growing more crabgrass than I have ever seen. I wish it were edible.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, it's definitely needed, I think. Those are all of us who enjoy that area.
I have sent the House and Grounds Committee a letter that I hope Carol will read tomorrow. It'll be the first House and Grounds meeting I think I've missed, except when if I've been sick in the 14 years I've been here. But I'm very concerned about people who are using the grassed areas around the building to let their dogs pee, if you will, or whatever they want to do. The dogs seem to be running the show. And I think that it's time that we face the facts that if you have a dog, or your children bring a dog, that they receive instructions where where those dogs should be walked, and it is not on our lawn. It breaks my heart to see the lawn in front of where, oh God, no. On the first floor, if you enter from the back, the backyard, the side back there, where that had a bench, it was beautifully taken care of, there were chairs. Now it is nothing but dog stains. It's a disgrace to Whitney Center. It is an abuse of the property. And if management has to put flagstone there or something in place, they should please do it, because it is terrible to walk around and see what used to be. You know, you may not have liked all the flowers that were put there, but they are darn sight better than all the dogs, letting us know that's where they decide they'd like to do their business.
All right, next item. Ellen, you want to say something about leaky air conditioning units?
I sure do. Last month, the air conditioning unit in our apartment caused a leak into the apartment below ours. In our 18 months of living here, this has happened twice, and this leak caused even more damage to the apartment below than the previous year. Last summer, there were at least 5 to 6 separate air conditioning leaks throughout the north building, all on different floors, leaking into the floor below them. Maintenance told me that what is happening is that the condenser in the air conditioning units sometimes gets blocked. And what I watched him do to our air conditioning unit was to use a compression tool to blow out a big wad of brown sludge. I asked why, when maintenance annually changes the air conditioning filters in May, they couldn't blow out the condenser also in case there's any buildup. The answer was time constraints. This is preventative maintenance. I've spoken to Ken Sandberg about this, and he thanked me for bringing it up. I believe that all the condensers should be blown out when maintenance changes the air conditioning filters every spring, so that hopefully there will be fewer air conditioning leaks throughout both buildings that cause damage and loss of items and mementos affected by the water, and also turn residents' lives upside down during the time that they're cleaning up afterwards. Thank you.
I'd also like to comment on this, because this issue was brought up last year when it occurred in Ellen's apartment the first time. And at that time, House and Grounds discussed the issue, and at that time, we recommended to maintenance that they put the condenser on schedule every single year, twice a year, or perhaps more if the summer warranted it, in order for them to check to see if it needed to be blown out so that this leak would not occur. So that was the recommendation from House and Grounds, and it appears as though at that time they didn't pick up the recommendation again. And when I was speaking to maintenance recently and said again that I thought that they needed to check the condensers every year at the beginning of the season, but perhaps during the summer, I was told again, as they were told Ellen, that time constraint would not allow them to do that. Now think about this, because it's causing damage to an apartment below. It's dripping down, it's making it necessary to go in and replace ceilings and windows. I mean, preventive maintenance is obviously something that Whitney Center needs to react to. And that was what House and Grounds recommended, and so we are recommending it again this year.
Just a quick question. When you say you talk to maintenance is not a on maintenance have you talked to? I don't know everybody by name. Okay.
Yeah, I spoke to both Suzanne and Tall Mike.
Okay. Thank you.
We don't know who's in charge.
Okay, my last,
Sorry. It's fine.
my last leak of 3, I believe I can see the stain right there because my apartment is directly over the CAC. And people came up looking for the source of the leak, and it was my air conditioner. Meanwhile, I have a black floor because I had a wood floor, and it turned black because of the water.
It seems like this is pretty common. I mean, I've experienced it twice from the room above in my apartment, and one time the water ruined a picture I had of my daughter when she was 1 year old. So it's an important enough problem that we need to get it addressed. Okay. Next thing that I have written down here on the agenda is an issue that, or not an issue, but an opportunity that has come up. Prior to COVID, we used to have these meetings in the pub between groups of team members and residents with rotating tables and refreshments, and we just get, it was just a way to get to know the employees better, particularly ones that you don't see all the time because they're behind the scenes. So I'd like to make a request to think about reinstating that. Okay, and then the last thing I'd like to mention before I open it up is about politics. Hamden's going to have a mayoral election coming up. The current mayor, Lauren Garrett, has chosen not to run, but there are something like 6 potential candidates on the Democratic side and at least 1 on the Republican side. Now, in the past, candidates, particularly the local ones, often will request to come to the Whitney Center to either to get signatures so they can get on the ballot or to talk about why we should vote for them, et cetera. And that's likely to happen again. But there are some regulations here. The Whitney Center, as a nonprofit, has to be, cannot take sides in an election, cannot favor one candidate over another or one party over another. But as individuals, we can, of course, do what we want, but subject to that. So we can't say, let's bring a candidate in and have a Whitney Center talk. But we can, if we have a friend or we have if there is a candidate that contacts one of us, certainly we can take them to lunch and we can talk to them. And if other people want to talk, that's so the basic idea is that whatever we do as residents does not represent Whitney Center, and it cannot. The reason for bringing it up is that it's quite likely there'll be candidates in the next few weeks that, in fact, there already have been candidates that have made contact hoping to come and sell their why they should be elected. So please keep it in mind that as an individual you can do what you want, but as a Whitney Center, there are restrictions.
John, with respect to that, Debbie, question about that? Go ahead.
Oh, I think it would be a great idea if we invited all of them to come speak at one time. So, we could ask them questions. Instead of having them one at a time, we could have asked all of them if they'd like to come to a specific date and then we could
Okay.
compare them, because
There is apparently on August 14th, there will be a Chamber of Commerce primary debate at the Miller Library, and they're going to live stream it. So we can get that kind of information through there.
can we stream it here in the CAC? I think that would be a great idea.
Why not invite the League of Women Voters to conduct a candidates debate? That's League of Women Voters is known for umpteen years, its whole history of being nonpartisan, and that would enable us to hear from all of the candidates on the same stage at the same time. Thank you.
That's a very good question, Elaine. I'm going to call the League of Women Voters of Hamden, North Haven, and talk with Ann Baxter and see if they're interested in doing that here. Also, in regard to the mayoral primary, there's going to be a primary for governor, too. Whether or not our present governor decides to run, he is going to be primaried. At least that's what one of our Hamden legislators is planning to do. We'll see if that materializes, but there undoubtedly will be, well, there probably will be at least two primaries, one for mayor and one for governor, that we should be interested in. In regard to that, I volunteered to run the voter registration tables again this year. We did 2 years ago, and we got a substantial number of people who were new to Whitney Center in terms of residents, and also some of the employees who had not registered. So we'll be doing that again this fall, and I will let you know more about that before very long. So there will be voter registration. Again, it's nonpartisan. We're not pushing any candidates, but Mary and I will be working on that again. Yes, Mary.
All right, no more questions about that. Are there any new issues or anything else anybody'd like to say?
So, John, can I just add that the residents' table, again, will be on the last Thursday of the month, which happens to be July 31st. Yeah, and we'll be there for your questions at that time also, and comments.
Is it on yours? Because mine isn't on yours. Does somebody have a comment on what you just said? No. Okay. So Joe and I are very interested. Joe and I are very interested in the fact that we were promised some kind of, what do you call them, Joe, in the street? Hub, yeah, to get to the memory unit. And we were promised last year, didn't come, and then Joe wrote to the mayor and she said, I'm sorry, I'm not the mayor right now. But the other day, we stopped, we saw some men drawing lines across. And I wonder if anybody knows about that. Joe stopped and said, what are you doing, guys? And they said, we're painting the street. So I wondered if they were preparing for one of those crossings. I have to tell you, it's so hard to go there to do some volunteer work. People are speeding on that street terribly. And if you're not fast, you could get killed.
I walked yesterday on Leader Hill, and there are several places on the street where they have painted lines, and I'm sure they're for the speed bumps. They're at interval places, so they've started the process. And there was an article in the paper about that they were starting to, get that done.
Last chance for some input. All right. Anybody move that the meeting be adjourned? Second? Thank you.